All right. A short video, very short, on Iran and the nuclear agreement. This agreement really is not to prevent Iran from using a potential nuclear weapon to attack Israel or whatever. For Iran to do that would be absolute insanity. Even North Korea, which is led by less rational people than Iran. Iran's leaders, civilian leaders, all went to school in England and the United States. North Koreans didn't. But to do so, to use the weapon, would ensure their destruction, and just as North Korea has not done so, neither is Iran likely to do so. It really was, as I said in the previous video, to avoid an arms race in that part of the world, which has been avoided in most of the world, which was controlled, if not totally avoided, between the United States and the Soviet Union and China, which even Pakistan and India have managed to maintain control so that nobody gets too powerful to produce what in the Richardson arms race model is described as an unstable arms race, which generally leads to war. It did in the case of the 80s involving Iran and Iraq. And it comes with a very tough inspection regime. Hiding the production of enriched uranium is literally impossible. It leaves traces, and it will remain really for the half-life of uranium-235, which is only 500,000 years. So if they try to cheat, we'll find out. Inspections actually do work, and they do work very well. The inspectors in Iraq said there were no weapons of mass destruction. We didn't believe them, and guess what? There were none. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. That Iran has been on the side of antagonists towards us and others, including Israel, is the case. Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon, and has been in conflict with Israel on occasion. But also Iran is basically on our side against ISIS in Iraq because they're Sunnis. They're on our opposite side in Yemen. But that's often the case with these states. After all, remember China, with which we have all kinds of agreements and good relations, and the president comes here and gets a state dinner, and they support North Korea. Although they have tried to rein in North Korea's development of nuclear weapons. So we'll see what happens. I suspect, despite the warnings that Iran will use the money that's freed up by this, that's been frozen in American banks and elsewhere, will not be used to fund terrorism and whatever in the part of the Middle East, because they're in desperate economic straits. The sanctions, particularly limits on getting into the international credit system, mainly Western and Japanese, are really crippling. And one reason why the hardliners, and our hardliners in Iraq, in Iran, although the current president is not one, and even the top religious leader appears to realize the necessity of this, he makes the final decision, that their economy is just in horrible shape. And there's 80 million people. They already had demonstrations a few years ago against the regime, and the next time it may bring it down. So the group that is most hardline, the Revolutionary Guard, if you saw the movie Argo, they're portrayed in there. A very good movie, by the way, but mainly a fiction. I mean, I like good movies, but those people did not leave Tehran as pictured in the movie. They flew out in the morning when the airport was empty. They were not chased by cars, whatever, but I wouldn't have made a good end to the movie. So the Revolutionary Guard, despite their anti-Western tendencies, they're isolated within Iran, particularly from young people who tend to be very pro-Western and American. And secondly, they know the economy is in desperate shape, and if they don't do anything, they're going to be gone. The way the radicals in China, who oppose the trip to China and the détente with the United States formed by President Nixon, where is he when we need him, did not oppose the policy towards the U.S. because the Chinese economy was on the verge of collapse. But anyway, we'll see what happens. And certainly preventing Iran, or any nation for that matter, from acquiring nuclear weapons is a step in the right direction. The fewer countries that have these things the better. And I really wish that the United States, Russia, China, and the others would work harder to dismantle them altogether. Some people have argued for years, even the President of the United States. But that's going to be hard to do, and of course we obviously trust the Israelis with nuclear weapons more than we trust the Iranians, which is probably accurate. But we'll see what happens. For the United States not to have agreed to this would have been terrible, because the rest of the world was on board. And again, in the post-World War II world, we do things collectively, not individually. All right, tomorrow a little elaboration on Asia, and then we'll get to the final part of the readings and the first part of the course, so you can write your book review. I'm sure that'll be fun.